Here she is, lovely Dawn. Poor gosh, you are looking gorgeous, lady.
Thank you, darling.
Lovely to have you with us. Dawn is many things, but one of the things that she is a shamanic healer. And we've known each other now probably about 5-6 years, haven't we? We've
Yeah.
talked often together. And in fact, I even had a session with Dawn. I just had to give you some insight into Dawn's work. And Dawn was able to kind of tap into me in a way that very few people can. And what Dawn realizes, there is a very strong theme of actual persecution that has followed me throughout various lifetimes. And Dawn is here to talk about star children. And I think it's a fascinating topic. And let's get into it. Dawn, first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself. I remember one of the things that you did is you took a trip to Peru, didn't you? That was a turning point for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think I've always been on the kind of spiritual side of things, but I spent about 20 years in finance, corporate finance. But I was extremely unhappy at the bank, so ended up going to Machu Picchu in 2004. And I had a vision there, and I got told to be basically a shaman, kind of cutting it down very short. And I've immediately started working. I mean, trained obviously, and it's 21 years this year. So,
Wow.
yeah, I can't believe it. I'm like, oh my God.
And
Yeah.
it's amazing because I've known you this period of time. I see you're having a Benjamin Button in your life. Like you are literally like reversing the aging process on a constant basis. And I think that you are a fantastic advert for your own work because your spirit is always so light. Like
Oh,
in everything you do, you literally you step lightly. And I think that's absolutely wonderful. So let's talk about star children. What is a star child?
well, a star child effectively is somebody that is human by any other means. There's no difference, physically, but the soul, it comes from another dimension, comes from like a star dimension, not necessarily in our universe. So these people, they kind of know that they're different. So, these people like the square peg, round hole type of people, and they have kind of common themes in their behaviors and in their lives and in their experience of life, and they are really struggling at the moment. And I think I realized I was star child when I was 3, although I didn't know, I didn't think that, I thought I was on my own. And there's this a very big sense of, what am I doing here? This is like not my home. And a lot of clients, well, I think, are probably 97% of my clients are star child, and they
Wow.
just managed to find me. And I haven't ever advertised that, I work with star children and that kind of thing. So most of them have figured it out, with the advent of the internet and everything. They've sort of found things and realized or recognized themselves. And some people have kind of thought, I'm not from here, but then kept it very much to themselves. And after a little bit of wrangling, it kind of comes out. And then some people have got kind of no clue, but still struggle, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. And you were, as you say, a very young child. I was also a very young child when I realized that. And I say often that I was kind of like in the world, but not of it. And that is very much a sense of it. And there are other names, aren't there, for a star child? Some people call them indigo children, rainbow children, crystal
Yeah,
children, as one example. So here's the thing, that sense of being different. When I was actually reading some of the things that you have written about star children before, it suddenly struck me, and this might be a bit but what suddenly struck me was, isn't it interesting that we pathologize so many people who are different? So, for example, autism, AD, any of those things. And I just wonder whether these are potentially actually star children, but we are
they are.
pathologizing them and
Yeah,
medicating them. You think so? There's a
yeah,
potential for
I
that.
think so. I mean, I think I had my oldest client that was star child was 84, and she said she didn't know anybody like her. And then my youngest client was still in the womb. So they literally ranges, I work full time, so I've had 3 to 5 people a day for 21 years. So it's not 4 people, it's a lot of people. But, they all say the same things. But when I work with children, you can absolutely see it in them. And of course, they are not so isolated because there's lots of very sensitive children that are like them around. So I think it's like a pyramid effect where, you know, a couple of star children came in and more came in and more came in each generation, you know. So with me, like I'm 60 this year, which is horrible.
You're looking fabulous, darling, fabulous.
But it's, you know, there's a few. I have probably 4 friends at a Starchild that I can talk to about anything. But and then as it comes down, there's more and more. But as it goes up, there's kind of less and less. But they all have the same kind of symptoms, if you like. And
Interesting.
you would be, well, not exactly typical, but your need, Star children have a need to make the world better, to save the world. Does that make sense? So, so, but they normally hide. They're normally very like, oh, what the hell am I doing here? Let me try and just hide until I can go back home. So they'll keep themselves very small. So, but I think it's interesting what you reminded me about this session with the past life, because you've had persecution in all of those lifetimes.
Right.
And persecution in all of those lifetimes is a typical star child thing, because you come here, your first incarnation is as a star child. So, and star children are drawn to the truth and healing, so, and making things better and helping people. So you've probably been drawn to, you know, shaman, witchy, seer, oracle lifetimes, as well as, you know, standing up for justice. And those people have been persecuted throughout history. So one of the problems I think we've got these days is that there are a lot of star children here, and they have come here to bring their light to the earth at a time when the earth really needs it. But because of all of this historical, like, oh, in that lifetime I put my head above the parapet,
Yeah.
you know, and then it got chopped off, or I got, you know, hung or burnt at the stake, then they're like, I'm not doing that again. So
Right.
they're hiding,
Right.
you know, and they're, you know, literally hiding, or even creating illnesses to enable them to hide, which is really sad.
Interesting. That comment that you made about children, I suppose that's because children aren't so burdened, because obviously as we get to adult life, we hear what other people say and we're like, oh God, this is just woo woo, and we're embarrassed to embrace it and
Yeah.
all that. Whereas children don't have those issues, do they? They feel it, they see it, they say it. That's it with children, right? They don't have
They're
those same.
naturally psychic. Yeah, they're naturally more psychic. But then as they go into the schooling system, that tends to get closed
Yeah.
down. So don't
Yeah.
be silly, you know, you haven't got an imaginary friend and all those sort of things. But I think, as you say, the reason that we've got so much ADHD and that kind of thing at the moment is because they are not from here. And hopefully they are going to come and sort us all out, because we're in a, you know, we've managed to make a terrible mess of things.
We
But
have
you know,
really.
there's lots of very, you know, general, I mean, I've just actually finished a book. In my first book, A Healer of Souls, I mention it, and I've just finished a book just for star children. So there's common things like, you know, often terrible childhoods, childhood abuse, sexual abuse, issues with the body, like you know, eating disorders, for example, because we're not used to having a body, you know, so this is like a alien thing to us.
Oh, interesting. Where are we from, by the way, if we're not from,
That's a question that everybody asks. So
right?
the thing is, we're not really from one place. It's almost like we get missions. So we, you know, maybe start somewhere, Pleiades, get sent to Andromeda, get sent here, get sent somewhere else, and we have like tranches of lifetimes. Because remember that everybody is actually a soul. We're not a body. So we are probably billions of years old as souls. So let's say you've had 60,000 years here,
Wow.
then you, and I think at the moment, I think maybe we're coming into that tranche of, out of that tranche of lifetimes, so that we can feel now that it's, you know, we're going to be moving on, and it's almost like the last mile of the marathon, where we literally can't keep going anymore, you know. So from hearing clients now, they're all saying, I've had enough, I'm out of here, it's awful.
I
They're
hear
not
that a lot.
suicidal, you know,
Yeah.
in a way, but it's just like, if they could press a button and go home, they would.
Right. Like carrying the world on their shoulders, right? And one of the things that I know that you've said before is that children are all those things that you've just outlined, but children also have to deal with parents who are who are possible and capable of diminishing the light that they're carrying, right? Because we see it, don't we? You know,
Yeah.
we see parents, oh, don't be so noisy, you don't want to do this, sit down, be quiet, children should know their place, all this kind of stuff. That's damaging, isn't it?
Well, I think it's important. I mean, even though the term is star child, it means, you can be 84 and be star child. Yeah. So it's not necessarily to do with children, although yes, children get closed down. So it's basically, I'm star child. I think you are, to be honest, because I think this is why you're trying to do your bit, because, and one of
I'm
the
trying to
reasons,
extend the boundaries of our understanding, right? I'm so
well,
sick of
about
seeing,
truth,
yeah,
we're about truth, and we kind of know when we're being, lied to. But the other thing that, star children have is that, people will tell them their problems. Like, even if you don't know somebody, they'll come up to you at the supermarket and go, oh, this happened to me, that happened to me.
right.
Because we are aware that we're not really from here, there's a huge tendency to people please. So star children, adults have very weak boundaries. So they often get used by people, and particularly
Interesting.
employers.
That is so interesting. Literally, over the last few months, I've been actively working on improving my boundaries, like literally. And
Yeah.
that's so interesting because I think part of it is, I mean, I certainly know that I'm empathetic, but that is a trait, isn't it? That's inherent in
Star
these
child
people.
trait, yeah.
Yes, it's a trait, isn't
Star
it?
child trait, yeah, yeah. Empathetic, aligning, being able to align with people. But one of the reasons that we people please is that we are, aware that we are the square peg in the round hole from a very, very young age. And we will literally do anything to fit in. So if somebody goes, oh, pick me up at 3 o'clock and take me to the airport for my holiday, we'll go, yes, okay, I'll be there at 10 to, and rather than kind of like, no, get a cab, So it's almost trying to squeeze ourselves in order to be accepted. And what we need to do now is we need to be standing up and going, yeah, I am different, I'm not like you, because
Right,
we're different
right.
from other people in the fact that, that empathy and the sensitivity, it's very tiring, you
It
know
is tiring, and you also make the point that by playing small, I say we in the kind of general term, but star children make life hard for themselves. Now, the thing is that some of the things that we're talking about, that could apply to a multitude of people, right? But it's about, like you say, it's about forming a picture, isn't it? A kind of completeness of, I mean, I think one of the things that's interesting, I think in your first book, you did a questionnaire, right? About, are you
yeah,
a star child?
yeah,
Right. Okay. And some of the questions, like, for example, do you struggle to fit in no matter how hard you try? Can you see solutions to problems very easily? And
yes,
one of the things that I know that you've talked about before, and I've also read that that has been your experience, is going back to how people will put their problems on you. You were advising your teacher when you were 5 years old
yeah,
about her marital difficulties,
yeah,
right?
yeah. And it's never stopped. So maybe I'm in the right job,
I mean,
but
that's a good indicator, isn't it? If you're 5 years old, advising your teacher about their marital problems. That's
I think,
apart from the fact completely over trespassing boundaries. She should never have got you in that position. But the fact that you
yeah,
were there,
yeah. And I think it's, always, I think there's a common theme of always being there for people. So for example, I'm single because if I end up in a relationship, it turns out that I've been sent like a wounded soldier that I end up having to help and heal and doesn't have anything really to add. And then you just fix them and send them off, but they haven't really got anything to offer, and the same can go with friendships, but there can also be a lot of jealousy as well, because and also, there is a sexual abuse issue, because it's very common in star children. And the reason is, I think, is because the light quotient is higher, because the vibration is higher.
mm,
And we know that, I think, with sexual abuse, it's the abuser is trying to take the light
right,
off the
right,
other
interesting,
person.
right, certainly dominate, right, yeah,
Well, no, not really. I mean, in all
oh,
the work that I've done, because I specialize in healing, sexual abuse in men and women, and most of the work that I've done, the abuser actually needs the light because they don't have their own. So maybe they were abused, or maybe they've been, had a traumatic childhood. And
Wow.
rather than doing, people are also lazy, rather than doing their own work to become the light that they are, because we are all obviously of the light, no matter where we come from. It's easy to take somebody else's, and faster than to create our own and deal
For
with our own
For
healing.
sure. And we
Yeah,
see that even just in day-to-day life
yeah,
anyway, where people
yeah.
will attack you, it's I always maintain that only God can create a flower, but any arsehole can rip the petals from it,
Yes,
right? So
absolutely, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But a star child won't pick it, because even though it might look nice in a vase, you know?
Oh, that's interesting. So there's lots of things, lots of indicators that you've worked out, focusing on big picture issues. That is
Yeah,
definitely something I do. This whole idea of feeling tremendously powerful as well. Some people don't
yeah.
know what to do with that when they have that sense, do they?
Well, that's another reason why people hide, because my biggest problem is, with clients, is to get them into life, living the life of their dreams, being, fully embodied. And they're like, no, 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 I can't do that, because there's either a fear of, when I do it, I am going to have to save the world and find the cure for cancer, single-handedly, you know. But that everybody has it, it doesn't matter who you talk to. And then the other thing is that, it's just really a case of needing the world to be better, and fitting in. Yeah. So as they are great problem solvers, everybody will come to
Gra-
them and want,
gravitate.
and gravitate. And because there is, I mean, if I go out with my mum's also Starchild. And I didn't realize, I thought I was only one till I was 33. And then I realized both my parents were.
Interesting
Yeah.
age. That's an
Yeah, it's
interesting age
interesting.
that you just, okay, right.
We go out for, if we go to a stately home and have a cup of tea or something, then people just sit and stare openly.
Yes, I know. I do know that feeling actually. I mean, and it's a pure feeling, isn't it? Is but I think the essential message I'm getting from you here is that we must not be afraid to embrace this. If we sense this about ourselves, not only do we perhaps have a duty to explore it more, because I definitely feel, whether this is me or not, I definitely feel I have a purpose here, just like you do. I'm.
Yeah.
This is not just kind of an accident that I managed to, mine was the spermatoza that got through. It's much more than that, isn't it? So much
Yeah,
more.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think it's about having a purpose, but it can be like a huge driving force in Star Children. It's like, I have to do this, I have to, I'm responsible, I have to do all that responsibility. And it's about, stepping back, and really, we have come here to bring our light here, to lift the vibration, to raise consciousness, and to help others. So as long as we're, allowing ourselves to be the light that we are, not hiding away somewhere, then we're doing what we came to do. And we can maybe save the world together, but no one's going to have to do it on their own.
That's a lovely thought. I mean, we need to find our tribes, don't we? Do you spot people now? Are you able to, you do, you can literally like say, oh, I think that one has the potential of being a star child. You do.
Well, it's not about the potential of being a star child. You're
They
either
are.
or
They
you're not,
are.
but yeah, you can sense them, you can see them. And there's just kind of telltale signs, really. But when you look at, I mean, if the people come as a client now, I know that they're star child. I know I'm being sent star children, you know. So that kind of makes it easy, because in the beginning I was like asking like 92,000 questions before I said anything, because I was like, "Ooh, what if?" And now I just accept, well, they're going to be star child, because that's all I've worked on, for 21 years.
Exactly. You've got a good sense of it. But what I also think is good, going back to what I said earlier, and that is I'm really concerned that just because somebody's different, they're being medicalized and pathologized. And you actually really cover that in your kind of chart, because, and I think I take a great deal of hope from what you have to say from both of your books. I think it's in chapter 2 of the first book
Yeah,
about starting. Yeah. Okay. So I take a hope from what you have to say, because you literally like turn things on their head. So for example, the reason I say that is, what would often be considered negativity, so comparison, right? And that's a good example. And you turn it around because you say, do you constantly compare yourself with others? And actually what you're doing is aligning that to something positive, something outer worldly, something much bigger. And I
Yeah,
think it's brilliant. It's
yeah. I mean,
brilliant.
I think it's about you. You know, you are different, because if you think about it in terms of light bulbs, you know, you've got different wattage. Well, you used to have different wattages, like, you know, 25 watts, 40 watts, 60 watts, 100 watts. If we come in as 60, let's say the vibration of, you know, consciousness is 40, we go, I want to fit in. So it's like a dimmer switch, you know, turning it down to fit in, but we're never actually going to fit in, because we know we're different, but also other people know that we're different.
Yes.
They might not know how we're different, and they might react to in odd kind of jealous or weird ways towards us, you know, but they know. So it doesn't work. So what you have to do is go from 60, and then how can I get up to 100? How can I shine more brightly? And I think now the time is for the star children, rather than hiding and playing small and not standing in their power. It's about stepping up and going, yeah, I am different. I mean, it doesn't mean to say that we can't work or have a family, or, I mean, people in all sorts of jobs, lawyers,
Right.
psychologists, you
Right.
know,
Right.
doctors, you know, in every area of life. But it's about stepping up and going, you know, yeah, okay, maybe I do need more rest, more time at home than you do. You know, maybe I have to leave the party early, whatever, you know, but it's like, it's okay,
Yes,
you know.
step off from worldly pressures. I think that's the important message as well. And I
Yeah,
like this idea about feeling this really strong connection to like a source, a divine, because I do, and I don't claim to be religious at all.
yeah,
But I absolutely am aware there is something much
yeah,
bigger than me
yeah,
operating. I feel
yeah.
at times like I'm a marionette, right? That
Oh,
there's a puppet. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And that's another thing as well. So it's a huge craving for God or Jesus or Guru Nanak, or, you know, it doesn't matter what religion people,
Whatever it is.
it's a huge connection up, you know, and it's almost like a remembrance. But this also comes with feelings of massive homesickness and abandonment as well, because
Ooh.
you know, I remember feeling that, you know, I remember being in the garden when I was about 3, because in those days parents used to leave you in the garden for fresh air and things, even though it's freezing. And
Right.
I remember just looking around and going, "Oh my God, what am I doing here? And why have I been abandoned? Because these are not my people." So it feels like, you know, you've been dropped off and then they've shot left
Oh,
you,
I
you
so
know.
know that feeling.
So it really moves there. And then there tends to be issues with, you know, parents as well, because the parent, my mum used to say that I terrified her, because she said you were like a really old, wise person
Right.
in a tiny body,
Right.
you know, and she said, how do I then get power over you to keep you safe? You know, so there can be issues with parents that really try, or
Yeah.
sensitive male patients that their dads have gone, oh, you know, go and fight somebody, go and play
Oh,
football, go and they're like, no, I want to write poetry, you know, and
right,
so,
right.
and trying to be made something that you're not, you know,
Yes, yes.
and you,
No, I
yeah,
get you. I get your point. I absolutely get it. I feel it very strongly what you're saying. Whatever it is, I understand it very deeply. So,
I would bet money that you are though. I would bet.
yeah, probably. I'm probably
I
some
think
I
you've
mean,
just been so, there's been so much trauma and so much persecution. Now there's like a rage, and it's like, I'm going to go out there now. So you've actually been very, very brave. And I commend you in
thank
doing
you.
what you're doing, because I know it really has not been easy. But you know, but other star children need to be doing the same thing. We don't need to be the same as
Don't
everybody
play
else.
small. No,
We
it's
don't
okay to be different.
fall, you know.
It's
Yeah,
not even okay to be different. It's fantastic to be different. I
yeah,
mean, it really is. Literally, who wants to be, a kind of, a cardboard cutout of everybody else? Nobody wants to do that. So, like
exactly.
on a practical level, somebody listening to this today, a lot of our viewers will be very much in touch with themselves, know that they're different,
Yeah.
know that they're not like the rest of the world, that there is something different to them. But there will be some people that you might be like pricking their consciousness right now with our conversation, right? What would you suggest would be the first steps in order to be able to embrace this side of yourself?
Well, like you said, there is a questionnaire in the book, but rather than purchasing the book, I put it on my website as well. I think there's about, I don't know, 30 questions that can help identify yourself. But really, it's about, for everybody, it's about, star child or not, accepting who you are, because nobody's perfect, and so it's embracing all that you are and allowing yourself to be the flower that you are. I often say that to clients, because the peony never looks at the sunflower and goes, I wish I was really tall and yellow.
Right.
And then the daisy doesn't look at the peony and go, I wish I had so many petals. They're all like, yeah, I'm a daisy, and they all have their face turned towards the light. And
Each
that's what
one,
the same, and they
each
all have a fragrance. Yes. And
that's right.
sometimes in medicine, they all have a purpose, So it's about, I am a daisy, I'm a peony, I'm a sunflower, and everybody is there in the garden, and they all need to be loved, basically. But the biggest problem I see with star children is this thing in their head where, like, there's something wrong with me. I mean, I've had clients beg psychologists and psychiatrists for drugs,
Mm,
you know,
mm,
saying there's
mm.
something wrong with me. I've got social anxiety, and they have all these drugs, and then there's no difference. There isn't anything wrong. You just a different consciousness, and you need different things. So, as I keep saying, we need more rest, because we go into a party, we notice 800 things, whereas most people might notice where the bar is, and that's draining. And then, we take on all the energy of people. We're always naturally trying to heal people with our energy fields. And it's just, I mean, I often go to a party and have a really good time, and a voice in my head goes, go home now. And it's like, I don't want to go home now,
Right,
but the body just gets overloaded.
right,
It's like,
right.
you have to leave.
Oh,
Whereas before, I would be worried about what people thought.
right.
So I'd be like, I have to stay another 2 hours.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's getting over that, isn't it? So liberating once you get past
Yeah,
that,
and now
though,
I'm like,
isn't it?
I actually just walk out, to be honest, if it's a big party, because
Right,
nobody knows anyway.
right.
And it's just about allowing yourself to do the things and live how you need to live. And one of the important things to note is that I've noticed with clients, it's very rare to have what my parents had. There were two star children married. It's normally a star child and an earth person, and I think the earth person there is to, like, hold the string of their balloon, to keep them grounded.
Interesting. Do you think this is related to rhesus negative blood? And the reason I say that is I'm rhesus negative. My daughter is rhesus negative. There's no actual
Right.
uh, worldly source for rhesus negative. So do you think it bears any relation to each
Yeah, I
other?
do. Yeah, I mean, I'm A negative, which is quite a rare group. But I think the thing is, it's almost about, the book that I've written for Star Children isn't about, oh, this is a proof that the Star Children. I mean, obviously, it was believed in many, cultures,
Right. Yeah.
but that really, it's about the star children. They know they're star children, you know really, underneath it all, if they admit it to themselves. So it's really, what I've written is a guidebook for life, because we don't have to justify. It's like me, justifying that I've got brown and grey hair. It's like, it just is, you know
Exactly.
so
Exactly.
it's like you are what you are. But the thing is, but remember, with all the difficulties that we have, and there's lots of difficulties with real world things like money and accounts and
Jobs.
houses, jobs, cooking. I mean, that's a massive issue for star children, because we're not used to having anything to maintain, and it's just, they often feel like they're like playing a role, like it's just a big game, and it's not real. And it's like there's a tiring now, of star children, where they're going like, I just want to go home now. I'm just so tired of pretending that, to be like this, or to think that EastEnders is important, or
Right.
what I mean. And it's like, and it's
Yeah.
particularly now, when everything on the external. So for star children, being here when everything's like normal, calm, is hard. Yeah. So when things are like they are now, it's virtually impossible for us. But it's about realizing that I often say to clients that you don't call the fire brigade if there's no fire. So yes, because Starchild at the moment, but it's all wrong, the world's all wrong. And it's like, well, yes, but you wouldn't need to be here if it was all right.
Right. Right, exactly. Again,
I mean,
you've
no
turned
point.
everything on its head, and I love that though. You're getting these incredible positives out of perceived negatives, i.e., comparing ourselves, which is absolutely the thief of joy. There's nothing good ever
No,
to be got from that. Nothing at all. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. You know, I always love a little bit of this. It always makes me feel much more in touch with, because obviously I cover such worldly topics that
yeah,
I do need this escape. I do need this escape. This does feel home to me, and it's wonderful to have you back with us, everybody. This is the very lovely Dawn Paul. I've already put a link in the description to
oh,
Dawn's website. You can check her out. She's fabulous. Lovely Dawn.
thank
Lovely
you. Catch up soon.
weekend.
Take
Take
care.
care. Wonderful. Thank you. And yeah, I need me some of that, people. That's just who I am. That's the kind of girl I am.